John Gray, welcome to Dad Edge, my friend.
Hey, thank you so much. I'm really happy to be with you.
Well, I'm happy to meet you. Before we hit record here, I shared with you. I read your book 23 years ago, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and I just shared with you. I just want to acknowledge and appreciate you, obviously with our audience as well. Your book changed my life, man, and it changed the way I went about relationships. And I came from this sort of really crazy childhood growing up and didn't learn a whole lot of relationship skills. I think that's the story of a lot of people. And when I read your book, because I actually read it to do a presentation in front of a class in college, it just became this amazing page turner. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's that. There were so many amazing aha moments in that book. And it literally, I'm with the same woman that I was with in college when I gave that presentation. And that was a turning point in our relationship as far as I'm concerned. So thank you for the work you do, man.
You're very welcome. And what was fun is you're describing that to me. I'm like remembering as I developed those ideas. Every idea, every counseling session I did was like an aha moment when I would be able to explain a man to a woman or a woman to a man. And they just walk away with that excitement. Oh, I just didn't know that. Oh, I just didn't know that. Because it's so easy to make changes that could have a positive effect if you didn't know it before. You know, as there's so many things we kind of know, but we don't change, like don't get angry at your partner and don't complain, don't cheat on your partner. These are things that people do, but they don't seem to have much control over. But the things I pointed out was like, here are things that you didn't know was making things worse, and a lot of little things, but those little things can create big changes. And that's always the wisdom for everybody. Build a skyscraper, it starts by building little houses and then adding to it. Little builds up into big. And I just moved to say one other thing real quick here.
Yeah.
Part of my strategy back then as a counselor was eagerly wanting to help people when they have problems in a relationship. And so this tendency as a helper was what are your problems? You know, what's the biggest problem? And if we can solve the biggest problem, then all the problems will go away. That was the thought. And I realized it's actually what worked in my counseling with people was I'd hear what's going on, and then I start focusing it on the little problems. Because if we can focus in on solving the little problems, they're easy. And that creates, you're on the same team, that creates harmony. And then you start feeling connection and your heart starts to open. You've had more trust that things can happen, and then the big problems get solved. It's amazing when the heart is open, how we're willing, we have the creativity, we have the intuition, we have the flexibility, the flexibility to solve problems together rather than getting rigid. And when you have a big problem and you don't know how to solve it, you get very rigid and positioned in your position, and then they have their position. So let's start with the easy stuff and reveal a lot of things that people didn't know was making it worse. And when they get progress there, they start feeling hope. When hope is there, the heart starts to open. They can be more accepting, more forgiving, and the relationship gets better real quick.
That is so cool. Everything you just said, it feel the way it hits me in the heart. It feels like common sense, but it's not. And you have years and years of experience with this. And one of the questions that emerged for me as you were talking was, what are some of those little things? The years that you spent in counseling, what were just some of the top small things that really moved the needle that most of us as married couples or even people who have been together for years, we just don't see it for some reason, or we don't maybe pay attention to it?
Well, we don't pay attention. Things have to be pointed out. Okay, I'll give you an example of pointing things out. When I married Bonnie, my wife of 34 years, I refer to her a lot in my interviews. She has passed on now. I'm 70 and she passed on 4 years ago due to cancer. And I'm in a relationship now again, but generally all my sharing comes from my marriage. So I remember in my marriage with her, we go on little walks and she would notice all the flowers and I didn't even see them. She had to point them out to me. She, oh, look at that. And named it. Suddenly it's like, now there's more color on the walks. It's like we take in so much information, but we don't always see what's there. And our partner can help us to see what's there. I just want to make that little point here, because I think that marriage and relationship is so important for us to grow as human beings, to open our hearts, to be all that we can be. Now, those little things that you mentioned, they're basically the 8 chapters of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And I'll go through them real briefly because they're little. One is, what is a woman's biggest complaint back in the 90s? It's changed now, but back in the 90s, if we go back to the 80s, is he doesn't bring me flowers anymore. Okay. It was the romance is gone. That was the 80s. Then we went into the 90s, which is when I was writing that book around that time. And the complaint at that time that was really on the tip of everybody, every woman when they come in for counseling was he doesn't listen. He doesn't listen. And so I didn't hear men saying it. It's like men are going, my wife doesn't listen to me. Now, men would say it in reaction to her saying to him, you're not listening to me. And then he would say, well, you're not listening to me. And he'd be absolutely right. But when you talk to women alone, a lot was about, he doesn't hear me. He doesn't hear me. And here I am as a counselor. They're paying me money. And what am I doing? I'm just listening. I'm asking questions. And that was my first realization of this little thing. The little thing is that women will talk and men will interrupt with a solution. Or even we listen and they will, what I think you should do, or you shouldn't worry about that. Or honey, that's not really a big deal. What we want to do is use logic to tell her why she shouldn't feel what she's feeling. Because we don't want her to feel stressed. We don't want her to feel upset. It's like a fire. And when there's a fire, in a sense, every man is a fireman. He wants to put out the fire. And so how do I put out the fire as a man when I'm bothered about something? I'll usually just go play tennis or go swimming or go play basketball, or I could go drive my car. Or in my case, because of my background, I also practice meditation. I'm like a professional meditator. I've done 50 years of meditation. I was with the Maharishi of Transcendental Meditation. I was his personal assistant. I lived with him for 9 years. I really was his number one person when they did brain research. I'm a master of meditation. I still 50 years of meditation. I can be bothered or stressed about anything, and I can just go within 2 minutes, take a couple of deep breaths and go into my meditative state and forget all my problems. I mean, literally. And many men can do this. I was just listening to Joe Rogan. He was just saying, you can call it meditation, whatever, but I have to have quiet time. I just have to sit there and notice what I'm thinking. See, nobody taught him. He's just noticing what he thinks. There's systems of meditation that can make it more efficient. But for me, as a man, if something was bothering me, I could forget it, take time to forget it. And that became known as the cave. Now every man, man cave and all that came from Men Are From Mars. The whole chapter, men have a cave. And when men go to work, if they're stressed, when they come home to deal with that stress, they don't generally need to talk about it. They need to temporarily forget it. Okay. Let me watch TV. Let me read the news. The old thing about Father Knows Best, he would have newspaper in front of him. A cute little joke is I married Bonnie. After about 2 years, I noticed I started ordering all these magazines. I never ordered magazines. I'm a single guy. I have no magazines in my house. And suddenly I'm married. I ordered magazines and I'm sitting there reading my magazines while I get home from work. And I'm wondering why I started buying all these magazines. So I thought I'm going to do an experiment, just put the magazines down and just sit there. And literally within a minute, my wife came into the room and asked me to do something. So it was like that became like a metaphor of the man behind the magazine, behind the newspaper. It could be the man watching the news. It can be the man in his workshop. It can be the guy who's out working out with his muscles, going for a jog. You do something that helps you to forget, biologically helps you to forget the problems of the day. Now I know in my latest work is actually what's going on inside of men. When we're working together, we're doing our jobs right now. We're making testosterone. Now, for men to experience well-being, we need to make 10 to 20 times more testosterone than a woman. That's just biology. You can measure that. A depressed man has the testosterone levels of a woman. Okay. A happy man, a fulfilled man, he's making 10 to 20 times more testosterone than a woman. And these are easy. Going online, people say, where's the medical research for this? Just right there on Google. Just look at men's testosterone levels, women's testosterone levels when you're healthy. And it would be 10 to 20 times more for a man. And for women, they need 10 to 20 times more estrogen. Estrogen is their key factor. And other times of the month, they need estrogen and they need more progesterone. But in both cases, they're different hormones that make her happy and a different set of hormones that make a man happy. So when men are stressed, you can already see their testosterone levels are low. So when testosterone goes low, that's stress. If you look at men, whenever they have cortisol, that's the stress hormone. whenever it's being produced in the body, a man's testosterone levels basically are going, if it's chronic, cortisol is chronic, his testosterone levels go down. So men who have chronic stress have low testosterone. Men who have no stress, in terms of stress hormone, testosterone is up. So what is testosterone produced? When you feel capable and confident, you're faced with a problem and you know, I've got it handled, I can deal with it. So there's no stress, right? I can deal with it. It's a hard problem. Somebody else might be stressed out about it, but you're capable. That sense of confidence bumps your testosterone up. When you lose confidence, your testosterone starts to go down. And if you're threatened, your estrogen levels will go up. And that's the experience of anger in men. So men get angry when they lose confidence. Men feel sad when they lose confidence. Men, of course, when they're afraid, they've lost confidence. And when they feel bad, they've lost confidence. All these negative emotional states in a man is when he's lost confidence that I can solve the problem. For a woman, she'll have those negative emotions when she loses confidence that she can get what she needs. See, it's a very different dynamic. That's estrogen. So estrogen goes down. Estrogen goes up when she feels I have help, I have support, I'm not alone. But for me, as a man, if I'm alone, I have to do it myself. That's a testosterone producer. So what happens is I'm at work and I'm solving problems that keeps testosterone up. Some problems I can't solve, right? There's things you can't deal with. You can't solve this today. You got to wait till tomorrow to deal with it, whatever it might be, where you feel like I can't solve the problem, but I'm faced with it. So what a man does is, rather than come home and worrying about those problems that he can't do anything about, which is just going to keep causing him to feel helpless and afraid and upset, he forgets the problem. Now, if you go back into the whole idea of Buddha and meditation and all that, it's a state of forgetting your problems. That raises testosterone. And mainly in the old days, it was taught to men. And women, if you go to India now and you ask a woman, do you meditate? They go, oh, too difficult. Because their primary mechanism to deal with the stress is to talk about it, to share. The primary mechanism for a man, if he can't do something about it, if I'm stressed, what can I do about it? But if there's nothing I can do about it, we have a mechanism that says, then just forget it. That's the cave time. So we have different activities that we do that are non-stressful, which will rebuild our testosterone levels. Because anytime we're stressed, we're depleting our testosterone levels. If we're confident and successful, we're increasing our testosterone. So that's what used to be called a hobby. Every man on your resume in the old days, you put what your hobbies are. That made you a trusted person. And my hobbies are this. And, it's like, I play golf. A lot of guys go, oh, you play golf, or I play tennis. That was, you have something that you do that makes you happy, that's not dependent on your work and not dependent on a woman. See, that's another dynamic of masculinity. If you're looking to the woman to build your self-esteem, then you're a child to her. You have to have your work that builds your self-esteem. And then you have your cave time. So you ask for little things. Men take their cave time. So that was a big idea in Men Are From Mars. And why was that an idea? One, for men, it helped them feel not guilty for taking cave time. Because women always think, in those days, women would feel, you're rejecting me if you take your cave time. Why do you want to be alone? Why don't you want to be with me? I'll give you an exaggerated version of that in a recent client. And it was a woman, and her husband, they have great sex, they have a great relationship. He loves her. There's a lot of pluses to this relationship, but she's too needy. And he wants to go fishing with his friends. And she says, but if you go fishing, that hurts me. If you love me, do you want to hurt me? He's kind of like, what do I do with this? She has to understand that it's not about you all the time. He has his life. He has his biology. He has his needs. And you can't just suck in everything. But she, in her own experience, she believed in her mind that if he doesn't want to be with me all the time, then he must not love me. Because in her own neediness, she wanted to be with her partner all the time. Not that all women want that, but I'm giving an exaggerated thing, what a problem it is. So I saw this in my marriage with Bonnie when first year, we spent a whole week. We live in the Bay Area, but we went down to LA to her aunt was deaf and Parkinson's, and she was getting old. So we're going to move her up north to take care of her, right? So that's a big process to move her up north. You know, she's got all of her things and her relationships and everything. We have to unglue her from LA and bring her up. So we spent a whole week doing this, where Bonnie and I were together the whole time. And we haven't, you know, it's hard work, you know, it's a, you know, grunge work kind of stuff. And when I got home, we're home. And I got home and I said, I'm going to go play basketball with Clifford. And she went, but we haven't had any quality time. Actually, she didn't use the word quality. She said, but we haven't had any time together. I'm like, we just spent a week together. And so then I realized in my mind, I said to her, honey, I realize we haven't had any quality time. And right now I can't give you quality time. I need to just go do something for myself. And then tomorrow, I promise you, we will have quality time. And she would have nothing to do with it. She felt so hurt by it. How can you not spend time with me now? We had all this time. Now we can have quality time. I said, I can't do it now. I just have to do things for myself and go play basketball, which didn't make any sense to her at all. But you'll see, tomorrow I'll be here for you. So then I scheduled a date that night and it all went good. And she saw there was some truth to it, but she certainly wasn't about to help me. Okay. She wasn't going to remind me, remember, tonight's the date night, whatever. I had to show her that sometimes when I take my time away, that means I have more to give to her. Now I have the biology of that, which is so helpful. But women, when they read the book, because I talked so much about what women needed, they were open to hearing me say what men need and explain to them that when he pulls away, it's not because he doesn't love you. It's because that's what he needs to do in order to give love to you. It's a biological need for him. In those days, I didn't have the book called Beyond Mars and Venus, which actually explains that biological need that men have to withdraw in order to rebuild testosterone. Now, there's two places where you need to rebuild testosterone. One is if you're stressed, okay? When you're stressed, you're using up your testosterone that way. It's just going down. You know, so if you're feeling, I'm not successful at this, I'm not successful at this, I can't do anything about that, that's always stress. And your testosterone's going down. So you do something you're good at that's challenging to you, that produces testosterone, that helps you feel better. And now when your testosterone is up higher than your estrogen, now you want to find balance by going into the estrogen world, which is now you're more attracted to your partner and you get close to her. So this is all explained by that old-fashioned saying, which was distance makes the heart grow fonder. That's true for women to a certain extent, but big time for a man. So you have a whole culture of history where men went away for the day, missed their wives, and came back. But they always had their alone time. That was very traditional. Men had their cave time. And women accepted that. But today, as women were feeling more need for connection, and that's because women were starting to move more to their male side, being more independent, to get back to their female side, they need connection. So they're like wanting to have that connection with him and then feeling that he's pulling away from me. They don't understand that because often women didn't have that need to pull away. Now women do, because women are more on their male side, so they can understand a little bit better. But for them, they're ready to connect with him, or they want to talk with him, because talking for women about what's bothering them actually produces estrogen. Talking about what's bothering you produces estrogen. So she wants to connect through talking, and he needs to pull away through not talking. And so now you have this problem. Now it can be solved if you just understand it, because when she's needing to talk, she goes, why doesn't he want to talk to me? Well, if she doesn't understand men and women are different, she only has her own experience to relate to. Her own experience is, when I'm mad at him, I don't want to talk to him. If I don't trust him, if I don't feel safe with him, I don't want to talk to him. So she interprets his not wanting to talk about something that he is mad at her, or he doesn't trust her, or he's not happy with her. And why is he suddenly schizophrenic and not wanting to talk to me when at other times he wants to talk to me? What happened? Well, now she has an answer for that. So she doesn't take it personally, and she can, quote, give him the space he needs to miss her and come back to her. Now, the dynamic here is then, why don't women just go do that? Well, they have a different history I like to give this little example from history just to kind of make sense of where this all came from. And I saw this when I was living with indigenous people in the Amazon. You know, I like to look at different cultures a bit. So I'm there for a week, basically. I'm not there for 3 years or whatever. I'm a quick learner. So I'm just watching how life is, and a very, very out of the world place where they don't see Westerners at all. You know, I had to take a little prop plane, land it on the dirt, then get in a canoe for literally 3 hours of canoeing, and then getting off with a guide, 5 hours to the jungle, getting to this place. So there's really no Western values at all, right? Very male, female roles there. You see it. And so you take, most of the women were holding babies or they were pregnant. That's how it was. No birth control. They liked sex a lot. So lots of babies, lots of children. The women were together all day, which is when women are supported by other women, it produces a lot of estrogen. The rule was women were not allowed in the jungle because that's dangerous. So the men went into the jungle, and men were not allowed in the garden because they stomp on things. So they had their clear roles, nurturing roles, dangerous roles. And so imagine at night, you go to the river to get some water. So a woman goes out to the river and gets some water, and she looks in the jungle and she sees there's a tiger. Now, what's the first thing she needs to do? She needs to go back and tell somebody there's a tiger. Wake up her husband, get the guys together to go out and get rid of the tiger. She needs to talk about it. By talking about it, her safety is ensured. Now, when the men are going to do something about it, what are they going to do? They're going to quietly creep up on the tiger to kill it or get it away from there. They want to be quiet. Think about the soldier. You want to hide. You want to be at a place where you can protect yourself. Quiet. So quiet has always been a way for men to feel safe, to de-stress. So men need to be quiet. And that's one version of this. And whereas women, they need to announce it to everybody. There's a problem. There's a problem. And think about the stress that she'll feel if she knows there's a tiger and she doesn't tell anybody. Then what she will feel is it's all up to her to solve the problem. Now, think about what women experience today, which is this feeling of overwhelm, of I have to do everything. I have to do everything. And it's up to me to do this. This is because they're not getting a chance to tell other people what's going on inside of her. There's literally a biological experience that women have biologically. I read this in a study one time, that when a woman experiences moderate stress, now this is just moderate stress, not endangered, right? This is moderate stress. She will experience an increase of blood flow to the emotional part of the brain of 8 times more. So you have 8 times more blood flow. And a man under moderate stress experiences less blood flow, decreasing blood flow to the emotional part of the brain. So just think about yourself when you have a moderate stressful experience, you detach from emotion. Then when you can't solve the problem, that becomes a source of great stress. Now you become emotional. So that's the men out of control, using anger, getting mad, throwing things, doing crazy things. That's him basically. It's testosterone going down where he's in control. Now emotions take over. And emotions will take over in males if they didn't have their fathers teach them how to deal with stress. Now, I know you talk a lot about fathering, so I want to give one example from our book on boy crisis.
A little bit. We talk a little bit about it.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm just messing with you.
It's right. It's real. Okay. Well, one of the different focuses of parenting is when I married Bonnie, she had 2 little children from a previous marriage. So I was a stepfather, and then we had a child together. And here we are, this little family of 3. And I see Bonnie's overwhelmed. Okay. She's overwhelmed. She takes on too much. And I said, look, I'm flexible in my schedule. Every Monday, let me take care of the kids. And you just go out and do fun things, whatever you like to do, and even spend the night at a hotel. And if you want, I can also arrange a babysitter. I'll come visit you in the hotel. Okay. So that actually was fun for sex too. It's something about, yeah. When women are not in their environment where they're thinking about where the kids are, where the problems are, this hasn't been done. You put them in an environment where they're not responsible, immediately their estrogen levels go up. For a woman to have an orgasm, she needs to double her estrogen levels. Okay. It needs to double. So all these sort of responsibilities sort of keep her from producing feeling support. So, you go to a restaurant, somebody's cooking for you. You don't have to wash the dishes. You don't have to plan the menu. You don't have to shop for things. You go to a hotel room. You didn't have to make the bed. You don't have to clean it up afterwards. Everything's nice and new and clean. No kids to worry about. All of this, she feels supported like a queen. Her estrogen levels go up, and then she can feel romantic. We don't need that to feel turned on. Okay. We're so biologically different.
We just need the on switch.
That's right. We need opportunity.
Right.
That's as long as we have enough testosterone. As men get older, unfortunately, that goes down. But what I focus on, since we just hit that little button right there, is that button stops working in men over time as men's testosterone levels start dropping. And this is important for every man to know. Although I was going to give the example that night off. So she had the first time she had Monday off. She's all set to go. And she says to me, "So what are you going to do with the kids today?" I said, "Oh, I got fun plans." She said, "What are you going to do?" And this is 2 years into a marriage. I said, "I'll take care of them. I don't want to tell you. It'll be my thing." And she says, "No, I really want to know." I mean, "What do you mean? You don't trust me?" She said, "Just tell me. Just tell me what you're planning to do." I said, "Okay, I'll tell you." And I said, "I'm going to take the kids to Stinson Beach, about 30 miles away, and 30 minutes away." And she says, "Oh, what a good idea. Did you pack jackets? The weather can change there." And I said, "No, I didn't pack jackets." And she said, "See, that's why you should tell me." And I said, "No, that's not why I should tell you, because I would have taken them to the beach. And if it was too cold, they would see Dad solve the problem without worrying about it. See, I'll solve the problem." See, it's in a sense, the female energy is always what can go wrong.
Yeah.
And the male energy, okay, something went wrong. We can handle it. We can deal with it. It's no big deal. We'll fix it. We'll solve it. And I said, "Look, if it's too cold, I'll solve the problem." She says, "Yes, you'll just go buy jackets, won't you?" I said, "Yeah, I'll probably do that." Or we go do something else. But what children need is to see their fathers have that cool, calm, collected can do. Problems happen, shit happens. This is how you deal with it. You don't get all emotionally upset about it. You don't worry about it. You don't get bent out of shape. You're cool, calm, and collected. That is masculinity. And if you don't have an example of that as a boy growing up, it takes years to learn how to have a relaxed attitude about things. If you don't have that, you just have a mother who is emotional about things. You gain your awareness of self by being emotional. And we've got so much going in the wrong direction today, trying to get, all male problems. We know men have problems. Most of the people in jail are men, right? So they have problems. This is all because they couldn't cry as little boys. No, it's not because they couldn't cry as little boys. It's because they didn't have fathers who could show them how to do things, how to react to life, and had mothers. And if a mother who doesn't have a father is a single mother who doesn't have a man showing that little boy how to be, that's a single mother trying to do it all. So what you've got is a mother trying to do it all, which is a state of chronic stress. If you're a mother and you're trying to do it all, you're in a state of chronic stress. And that's what's happening today with single women. I mean, this is so hard on them. The stress level is so high unless they find support. Maybe they're dating a man. I'm not saying you can't get a divorce or whatever, although divorce has a heavy price for our children. But what has the heavy price is that you've got a mother who's not happy.
Right.
Because part of our confidence as a male is to feel that I have the power to easily make my mother happy. I made good grades and she's so happy. So I had this experience that my mother is happy and she's proud of me. Yes.
I really want to hit a point here because obviously, Dad Edge podcast, the majority of our audience is obviously men. I want to hit this point home as far as men have a problem. I would say most men have problems with remaining calm during stressful situations, right? Whether it's external or internal. We might be internally completely freaking out. Maybe externally we don't let people know. Maybe externally we're just like flustered and we're that dad that's like, "Oh, don't talk to Dad. It's one of those days." Right. I would love for you to maybe give our listeners some advice on how might we become that more calm, cool, collected father and husband, even in the face of highly stressful situations.
Okay. let's go to that one step. You can hold on to that, cross our fingers on that one. You asked me for the basics of Mars Venus. Just one more basic, since you asked the basics. A lot of guys don't even know that book's there and how valuable it is. One is cave time. The other one is then women are more supportive of your cave time rather than feeling hurt by it and resenting the time you spend apart from them, resenting when you become quiet, misinterpreting you. And the other side of this is something called the rubber band, is that we as men are like rubber bands in that we get close to a woman. We're horny. We have sex. We spend time with her. We enjoy being with her. It's the very fulfillment. What happens during that time is our estrogen levels start to go up. When estrogen levels start to go up, our testosterone starts to go down. We feel an instinct to pull away. So not only do we pull away from the female side of life, when we're stressed, we need to go to our male side. The second thing is if we spend a lot of time with our partner or we have lots of children, we need it. Just the estrogen levels go high. Whenever you're feeling love, your estrogen's going up. Estrogen goes up higher than your testosterone. There'll be a tendency to withdraw again when your relationship is good. You know, we have this idea if we love each other, we're going to want to be connected to each other all the time. Not so. You have to give yourself permission to come back and rebuild your testosterone. And what women do at that time, again, they think, oh, we need to connect, and they'll pursue you. They go after you to try to get you to connect with them rather than stay put. Because if they stay put and you pull away, then you'll spring back to her. Now we have a biological mechanism to spring back as well, which is absence of intimacy causes us to be horny, and that will cause us to come back. But, you know, this is why sex ends, is because too much estrogen gets produced. You love the experience, or you love her. Hopefully you're loving her so much while you're having sex that estrogen goes up, and then your testosterone goes down, and you tend to withdraw and you tend to pull away. That's that tendency of kind of moving to the other side of the bed after you have a climax. You know, this is normal. And women are kind of like, why are you pulling away? Why are you pulling away? I don't know why. I just got to pull away. It's actually that withdrawing is a way to rebuild testosterone. Okay. So the other one point from that book, the rubber band was really helpful. Another one is scoring points. Now I have the biology of it, but just the way I said it then is that on Venus, every act of love scores equal with every other act of love, big or small. So we get into the thinking of we're dating her, doing lots of little things. She's very happy. Then we get married. Now we're going to do the big stuff, monogamy. We're going to share our income with her. We're going to be responsible for the family and her. That's the big stuff. That's what it takes to make a marriage. You have responsibility, accountability, and all that. So we're doing the big stuff. Why do I need to do the little stuff? So what men don't know is that you can bring her 50 roses, you're going to get a surge of estrogen. You bring her one rose, you're going to get a surge of estrogen, almost the same. So little things are just as important as big things. And what we men are thinking is, look, I'm making all this money. We've got a house, we've got cars, we've got this and this and this. That should be enough. It's not enough. It's a lot of the little stuff. Because, you know, I went to work and made a lot of money. That's one point. I came home, found out, gave her a hug. That's another point. I gave her 4 hugs today. Well, that was 4 points. I got more out of hugging her 4 times today when I saw her, when I came home, when I left, before she went to bed, I give her a hug. So all these little hugs produce estrogen. There's lots of things complimenting her, telling her, I love you. You're so beautiful today. What an outfit. Those little things score as big as making a lot of money and protecting her and so forth. Although if she's in danger, doing a big thing does have a lot of impact. That's where you see in the movies when the man's the hero and the woman is saved, there's a huge sexual attraction. What that is that's polarity. So polarity allows passion to last in a relationship. Everybody starts out, if you're in a sexual relationship, there's a natural polarity that happens just because there's newness. Dopamine levels are being produced from newness. And in men, that newness produces higher levels of testosterone, which is attraction to the feminine. That newness for a woman and safety and then newness will produce high levels of estrogen. But at a certain point, familiarity sets in. And when familiarity sets in, you don't make dopamine seeing your partner. You know, in the beginning, you saw her naked. Oh my God, look how beautiful she is. And then later on, well, you know, she's changing her clothes. You don't even notice. Okay, so this is Familiarity takes away dopamine. We want familiarity. We want comfort. We want ease. We want everything to be harmonious and safe, routine in a sense. Yeah, we get up every morning, we do this. That's nice, but we lose the newness of dopamine. And therefore, our testosterone doesn't go up in her presence. Her estrogen doesn't go up in our presence without the dopamine. So no dopamine. How do you keep that magnetic attraction? It's when the man has a life that's producing testosterone and he's connecting to a woman that has part of her life that's producing her estrogen. And male, it's the testosterone and the estrogen, just like a magnet, the opposite poles on a magnet create attraction. And if you don't have that polarity of hormones, you lose the attraction. But in the beginning, you got a glimpse of what you could have later on because of newness, because newness will raise a man's testosterone. Okay, so I just wanted to talk about scoring points and how important that was. Men doing little things for women always puts her over in the feminine side of her, which is receptive. Estrogen goes up when a woman feels I have a need and someone will fulfill it for me. And for a man, his testosterone goes up when there's a need out there and I have what it takes to satisfy it. So that's you get this polarity going on. And having said all that, when men have anxiety, and you were just describing what's going on inside of men and what we can do about it. Okay, so it could be this gripping anger at your partner. It could be a gripping sense of victimness, of resentment. It can be a gripping sense of anxiety. Okay, these are these grips. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah. I just want to pause here for a second because I'd love for your feedback on one thing before we move on to that question, if you're cool with it.
Yeah, no, I am. But I really like that you asked that question. We can go there.
And we'll definitely get to it. Let me ask you this. So I've known Jessica, my wife, for 26 years. We've been married for 19. It's fascinating what you've said about the dopamine and the little things and all that. And some really fantastic things emerge for me as I reflect on my own relationship. The relationship I have with Jessica is unreal. We have a tremendous amount of love for each other, respect for each other. We're friends, we're partners, we're lovers, we're parents. And I tell her all the time, I was like, whenever you walk into a room, I still, to this day, get butterflies. I still, to this day. And there are times, a lot of times what I'll do is when she walks into a room, or even if we're at a restaurant and she gets up to use the restroom and comes back, I'll imagine when she comes back that this is the first time I'm seeing her. And how do I view her? And there's always like this tremendous amount of, oh my gosh, look at that woman. Like it hits me hard. And my wife tells me all the time, she's like, I love the way you love me. Because, and I'm not saying this because, I'm trying to emulate like, oh, I do all these great things. I'm saying this because as you're talking about these things, sometimes I scratch my head and I'm like, man, why is our relationship in the place that it is? And it didn't start there, and for the first half of our marriage, it was a bit challenging, but we've learned a lot of these things over the years that we've implemented. And it's exactly what you have said, exactly to a T. So I just wanted to acknowledge you for that.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I'll tell you, I want to acknowledge you, Larry. We were having a conversation. I thought we were on the air, and now we're on the air. You're exactly the same. Cool, calm, collected, friendly, heartfelt person. And you have maybe the ideas of Men Are From Mars helped you, but who you are is able to connect with your heart and be logical at the same time. So you have a sense of confidence in who you are, and you've got this amazing woman. And I want to just share, you express that. You tell her, you're so beautiful. I wanted to say to all the men, when you're making love to your wife or your girlfriend that you hope to be your wife, is I love you. Say it when you're making love. Okay. This is like, this is what women do. They inspire us men to feel love. And sex is the most powerful place to feel because it's pleasurable. And so when you have the pleasure of sex, focus on, okay, I'm feeling pleasure and pleasure is great, but I'm only primarily doing this pleasure thing so that I can get in touch with what I feel. And then I can express what I feel, either through your behavior, which is taking care of her needs before your own. And the other one is expressing out loud. and which is just say, you're so beautiful. I love you. And the obstacle for men is to think that once I've said it, I don't need to say it again.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of men think that way, which is, well, why do I need to tell you? You know, a woman might say to her husband, do you love me? And he says, well, of course I love you. I do everything for you. I'm married to you. Why would you ask a question like that? Instead of reassuring her again and again. Reassurance, you know, also one of the big ideas in Men Are From Mars is also our love needs. How biologically based women need reassurance that they're loved, and actions can do it. Words can do it. Touch can do it. And actually all of those things produce estrogen. And so you want to go at it in all directions, but words are really valuable. And it's, you look so beautiful today. I just love you so much. I'm just happy to be with you. I had so much fun with you. You know, these are reassuring statements that allows a woman to feel loved. And sometimes men don't really get it. Why would they need that? Is that weakness on their part? No, that's femininity needs reassurance that she's not alone, that she's loved. On the other side of this, for a man to relate to that, I need reassurance that I'm a success. You know, in my investments, I look every day at my investments, right? How are they doing? How are they not doing? You know, I look at, I'm on lists. So how am I doing on my list? What are my book sales? What is my income? I look at my bank account every week. I'm looking at my bank account. Did I make this much? How much did I make? What are we doing? We're looking for reassurance that we're a success. And the difference is that masculinity needs to first look to your own efforts and actions for success. Then look to your wife. That's secondary. That makes you happier. You know, when your wife's loving you, that's happier. But happiness comes from you and your independent life, which then becomes happier with your wife and then with your children and all the things you can provide for them. It's a bonus on top. Women have to look to their personal relationships, not just with their spouse, but with their personal relationships to feel that I am loved in many ways. And one of the challenges for women is they get too fixated on their partner's love, and they don't put enough attention on getting the love of others, like their children, like their friends, like their work, like their spirituality. These are all other sources of love and support. And then when they're not looking at that, then they can get too needy for their partner, and then they feel dissatisfied with their partner, and then they go the other direction and say, well, I can't get what I need from him. It comes from, I can't get what I need from him, so I'll just get it from my friends. And that dampens the passion as well. Okay. It needs to be, hey, I can only get, you know, he gives me what he can give me, and other people give me what they can give me. And I'm a whole person, as opposed to needing one vitamin. I need all the B vitamins. You know, we can't just focus on one thing. Women do have a tendency to focus on that one thing. When a man is on his female side, we can also get that way as well. And that's kind of bringing up this emotional issue. I know for me, it's very different. There's a whole range of what we can talk about here. But for me personally, sometimes she would say or do things, and I'd be thinking about it for hours, you know, be upset about it. It would hook me in. That's the thing. Every man has his own unique hooks based on his childhood and different things. But when you feel hooked into a not grounded, open-hearted place, but something is nagging at you inside, you can't let go of it. That's where the process that we can talk about can help release that for men.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I want to get to. I got to be honest, man. I grew up without a father figure for most of my childhood. And then there was a revolving door of just several men that kind of came in and out. The thing that I struggled with the most, you know, before doing this podcast was my anger and I was not good at all at remaining calm, cool, and collected during stress. Now, here I am, you know, I'm 47 years old and I'm better about it. But there are times where that still shows up for me. And there are still some times where I'm like, man, I've learned all these things. I've implemented these things. What's the missing piece here? And I see a lot of other men in our community that do life with us. They're having the exact same issues, which is, how do I remain calm and cool and collected in these moments of stress? So great insights here. The most damaging thing you can do is talk about your feelings and ever raising your voice. All you're doing when you have anger and you use your anger, let's say you get in an argument. This is a big one. You raise your voice and you get in an argument. What you're doing is using anger to solve a problem.
And so then your brain, whenever you're not getting what you want, your brain goes to, oh, I need to have anger to get what I want. It's kind of almost even a global concept, is when we think that we have to fight wars to create peace, then to sustain peace, we have to keep fighting wars. Okay, we've got to find another way. It's if you use anger to get what you want, and your subconscious mind, your primitive brain, which is where the anger comes from. First of all, if you use that to get what you want, then when you're not getting what you want, that's going to be the go-to. And not only is it a go-to, but you have wiring that has grown in your brain to express anger. I mean, literally, it's like an addiction. People are addicted to anger. People are addicted to fear. Now, more so, women are addicted to complaining. Okay, this is actually an addiction. When you complain, estrogen levels go up for a woman, and she feels relaxed from that. From a man, if he's angry, it's coming from a primitive place inside of him where you used anger to intimidate others into changing. So you have to restrain yourself from ever using your anger, expressing your anger. That's the first thing, never even letting it out. You don't express it out loud in order to get what you want. But there's a bigger understanding how you can do that. This is a new task. But the first thing is to realize whenever you're angry as a man, and this has helped many men, I mean, literally blew their mind. Every man wants to be cool, calm, collected, masculine, attractive, capable, confident, at ease. So smooth, it's like you're a master. I watch, by the way, I'll just throw this in because I'm talking to guys. I watch a lot of the Chinese movies from Netflix where they have these Chinese, it's their fantasy movies of these guys who are masters of Kung Fu. They meditate and they've got little powers and they do all that sort of fun superhero stuff. But the key there is they never get upset with anybody. And when women talk, they just sit there and listen. It's the most amazing thing. They're really slow. They don't react right away. And the king is there and people are saying things and nobody's getting upset, except for the low level consciousness people. But the heroes are always cool, calm, and collected. And they always hear. We need role models of seeing men do that. You don't have to react to everything and you don't have to talk about everything. You can sit there and think about what the person said. But that's hard. We're addicted to anger. We're addicted to reaction. We're addicted to impulse. So just want to throw that one in. That's one of my favorite things is I watch all of them. They're not in English. It's like you're reading the letters on the bottom of the page. But you see these masters who are cool, calm, and collected and how they have so much power that nobody can threaten them, put it that way. All right. So having said that as a side thing, it's not a real important thing, but it's important to know. It's a helpful thing. The big helpful thing is to know that when we're angry, our estrogen levels are going up and our testosterone is going down. So we're losing our masculinity when we're angry. And that's a revelation. Most people don't know that. They think that when you're angry, you're being masculine. No, when you're angry or aggressive, you're a man who has more female hormones in that moment than masculine ones. So that, first of all, kind of gives us a sense of personal shame around having anger.
Dang.
I'm a wimp. It's only wimps that get angry. So at least you should it's like I think embarrassment is a good transformational emotion. If I get angry, I'm really embarrassed. Actually, I feel shame. I'm not who I am. Okay. But we've got therapies, get your anger out and throw your anger and express your anger and go to a therapist and express your anger. And there is a place for it. There is a place if you're not using it to affect change outside, but you're having awareness of it within yourself to look at what is not right inside of me right now and how can I let it go and do what is right. So never to use negative emotion to get what you want. The whole world today is just, we see everything going out of balance because everybody's talking about how wounded they are and how oppressed they are to get what they want. You're using, I'm a victim to get what I want. All your brain looks at is how I'm a victim if I want to get more, as opposed to look at what's possible. Look, and literally our brain is wired up this way, which is the left prefrontal cortex of the brain sees positivity and the right prefrontal cortex of the brain only sees negativity. And the more you use the right part of the brain, which is I feel victimized, I'm upset, I'm angry, I'm oppressed, I'm hurt, I'm not being treated fairly, I'm betrayed. All of those feelings activate the right prefrontal cortex of the brain. And from there, you get all this new plasticity in the brain of wiring. So as soon as you have a little stress, you go right to getting angry.
Hmm.
So the first step is change your brain. Your brain, see, this is all automatic. You can't just say, I'm not going to get angry. You can say, that's the direction I want to go in. Now, how do I keep creating these neural pathways to become angry? When you don't use them, they start to shrink and dissipate. If you use it, it gets stronger and grows. If you don't use it, it dissipates. And this is all proven in the brain research, the brain plasticity. What you use grows stronger. What you don't use dissipates. So if you use anger to get what you want, now basically your brain is going to look for justification to be angry to get what you want. And we're all about getting what we want. Everybody wants more. There's nothing wrong with that. I want to be more successful. I want my wife wants more love and happiness and joy for our children. We all have desires, a good thing. But to get what we want, we don't want to ever use anger to do it. But we already have a mechanism inside of us that says, and this is like you stepped on my foot and that hurts. And if you keep doing it, I'm going to step on your foot and I'm angry at you. So see, this monkey form of communication is to raise your voice or to express anger or have the tone of anger in your voice. Now, even for me, as I gave all this up, part of the process is my wife would say, you're getting angry. I said, no, I'm not. I wasn't even aware that I was putting out the message that I was angry. I was just like, I'm just mean what I say. Okay. Yeah, but it comes across as anger to me, she would say. And so what she did, and this is how a woman can help a man, if he starts to get angry, you have a safe word. And the safe word is just simply, and you respect it. This is a healthy safe word, but it's the safe word that we used is she said, John, you're being mean, and walks out of the room. Always, I know if my anger starts to go anywhere close to, and she's a detector before me. She says, you're being mean, and she walks out of the room. Now, what that does, that gives her protection so that she knows that I'm totally safe because I will never chase after her or anything like that. But she won't tolerate me expressing anger for a second. I mean, even before I know I'm angry. So you want a feedback loop. You want someone to tell you you're being angry, but it doesn't work when a man gets angry for a wife to say, don't talk to me that way. Well, that will make you angrier. Okay. Because she's trying to control you. In this way, she's just stating it. I know my clients, we work out a word that works for him and for her. I just happen to know that I mean what I say. So I am a mean person in that sense. So when she says you're being mean, I realize I'm being too focused on her. And so I don't get defensive. Some guys are bullies. And so, well, aren't you a bully? And she says, well, it's true. I am a bully. And say, okay, she can just say, you're being a bully and walk out of the room. So that's another technique in a relationship. So I respect it if she says you're being mean and then I stop talking. The other one, the whole key here for men is to know if you talk when you're upset to the person who's upsetting you, you will just have more and more estrogen. Talking about what you feel produces estrogen. 90% of the people who pay therapists are women. Because if women are upset and they can talk about what's bothering them, pity party, their estrogen levels will go up and they feel better. They will always feel. The problem for therapists, a lot of therapy today is really destructive because all they have is a pity party. But the therapist just asks them questions and feels sorry for them. Yes, that's terrible. Yes, that's terrible. Yes, that's terrible. He did this. You shouldn't do that. What can I do? I don't know. You can talk about your feelings and feel better. It's just like men doing porn to feel like men. You get an erection for 2 minutes and then it's over. It leaves you lower. When women complain in therapy, it leaves them lower because they've just pointed out how bad the world is and they go back out into the world feeling better, but they're back feeling alone and their stress levels come back. So in therapy with women, I first process their emotions because if women can talk about emotions, their stress goes down. When their stress is down, then I can tell them what they're doing wrong. You can't tell a woman what she's doing wrong until she feels safe and supported. Right. Then I can tell her. And women don't know what they're doing wrong. They really don't know. You look at most cases of domestic violence, the woman provoked it. This is what goes on. And she doesn't know how she provoked it. She says, why would you say that to me? Angry man, why are you getting angry with me? How can you not do this? You don't love me if you say this. And usually the man will retreat, fight or flight. He'll first start to retreat and then she'll pursue him and ask him questions and get him to talk. Now, why do they want to get you to talk? Because for them instinctively, if I can stay cool, calm, and collected and get an unhappy woman to talk, she can't stay unhappy. She can't. If you can actually listen to a woman, they run out of things. But if you argue with them, it would just go, yes, but, and everything will be fought back and forth. is learning to stay mute, stay quiet. Now, that is one technique, but then you're letting all this stuff get in, you're getting angry and angrier. You have to watch your upset reaction. So men need to listen, ask questions. So men don't always know what to do when she's upset about something or bothered about something and says something. You're going, you just washed the dishes. And she says, why didn't you do this glass? And you go, what the fuck? I just washed the dishes. Why are you pointing out the negative? It's just, they'll get upset about the littlest things because they can also become happy about the littlest things. You have to realize there's a benefit to this, but still. So you get upset with her. If you say anything or take action based upon what, argue with, well, sometimes you don't wash the dishes at all. You need kind of come back at all. It's just going to aggravate the situation more. So when you talk and you're angry or you're afraid, and another thing men should all know is if you are angry, you're also afraid. You can't be angry unless you're afraid. And I'm not afraid. Well, of course you're afraid. If you're actually very confident here, you'd be cool, calm, and collected. Fear promotes anger. And particularly if you've had somewhere on your 7 generations back, men would get angry. You have a tendency to fight. If your conditioning is such that when you're stressed, you go into flight. So some men just recoil. Some men will fight, and that's anger. So when you have that anger, which is more safer for men to express anger than fear in our culture. So the anger comes up. First step, don't talk about it. Now, what you have to do, if she doesn't walk out of the room, you say, I need to think about this and walk out of the room. Every word you say, once you're triggered, you know what I mean by triggered, once it starts, every word you say, it's going to take longer for you to come back to yourself. You're just going to talk, and now you're going to be completely shut down. You're just going to be pissed off. You're going to be angry, and then you go, fuck this. I don't care. And having a little compassion for women here is I want men to know what goes on when women hit that level of stress. They go into, I can't trust. I just can't trust him. And that means I can't depend on you. And so their estrogen goes down. For us, we go into, fuck this. I don't care. This is extreme, but I'm just making the extremes to make a point. Fuck this. I don't care. I'm out of here. And we go into not caring, and not caring means we stop producing testosterone. So since our testosterone goes down as we're speaking in a non-caring way, a non-considerate way, we're not caring, testosterone is going down, down, down. So the thing is, we then pull away. And if we don't pull away, we just shut down. I mean, this force you know what I'm talking about? A shutdown, Larry?
Yeah. I mean, so basically, if I'm saying it right, you correct me, but the thing that's coming to my mind is I'm going into my internal cave, and I'm not going to come out. I'm not going to share anything that's authentic or vulnerable or anything like that. And I'm just going to be internally angry and resentful. Is that accurate? Yes.
That's just shut down. That is shut down. And sometimes you don't even know what's going on inside. See, for me in the beginning, I just didn't even know what was there. So you do have to process it, but not with your partner. That's one. And two, first you shut down. Shut down basically means my testosterone on biological level, the estrogen is so high, just push my testosterone down. First thing you do is say to yourself mentally, right now, if I'm angry, I'm upset, my estrogen is too high, I need to do something to make testosterone. And the first thing I need to do to make testosterone is to forget about what just happened. So I have to tell myself, even though you can't easily do it, you can tell yourself, I'm not going to think about what she just said. I'm not going to think about what just happened. I'm going to purposely put it in a box and forget it for now. I'm going to forget it for now. Because a lot of men are just mulling it over and over. What just happened? Why she did it? They're just like angry about this thing. First thing you do, doesn't serve me at all to even think about this. I'm going to completely ignore it, which therapists will say, oh, you're suppressing. No, fuck you. You're not suppressing. You're forgetting about, you're putting it over here in a box. It's like any hypnotic state is you first put people, all their thoughts and everything, put it in a box. Okay. Close the box, be present right here in this moment. So I'm not going to think about that at all. You're going to do it later. But the first thing you do is I keep thinking about a problem that I'm powerless to solve. You'll just continue having lower and lower testosterone and stay shut down. So my power over this, I can temporarily not look at it. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. It's not permanent. Just right now, I'm not going to, I'm just say to myself, and I'll even use a phrase, which now I tell my partner, a new one is Anytime I seem to be upset about anything, she has full permission to say, John, you're just overreacting. It's not a big deal. and I laugh because she's right. Anytime I'm upset, I'm overreacting and it's not a big deal. I'm making it a bigger deal than it is. So I wouldn't say that to a woman. They can't handle that. But to a man, I tell her, you can say it to me. You're overreacting. It's not a big deal. And I go, you're right. You're right. At least intellectually, I'm being crazy right now, as opposed to I have a right to be angry. I have a right to be upset. And I'm stuck in this relationship forever. And how dare her do this? I can't. Just put it to the side. No, you're just overreacting. You're on your female side. Time to be a man again. So what you do, what does it mean to be a man again? It means don't complain. Don't talk out loud. Don't express any of that negativity. Now, what do I do? And this is really important. You got to mentally say, I'm not going to think about it to the best of your ability. I'm going to do something to forget it, to distract me. That's not weakening to me. If you just go watch porn, that will just deplete your testosterone afterwards. That's not a good one. That could be temporarily a relief, just like a woman complaining to her therapist. It's like male going and masturbating online. You get an erection, you're making testosterone, but if it's without love, it will deplete you afterwards. And I can talk more about that later. But what you do is you do something other than masturbate, other than go beat somebody up. Go do something that you enjoy doing that's challenging to you. That's why you have hobbies. Right now, it's pickleball. A lot of people my age are going play pickleball. Used to be for me basketball, used to be tennis, ping pong, various activities with a man or by yourself that you're good at. You have your hobbies. Go play golf. All hobbies are challenging activities that don't produce the kind of don't produce major stress. I mean, it's frustrating to miss the ball, but it's not your income. So it's not going to be stress, cortisol producing. It'll be adrenaline producing. Okay, I'm frustrated about this, or I was disappointed about that. You can actually, what I used to do for years was just go get in my car, turn up the stereo and drive and go for a drive. Get out of there, get out of the situation, go for a drive, listen to some music you like, go read a book that's good or inspiring or some book that you like. Go do some work, anything that's testosterone producing that's not personal, that's not having to do with emotions or feelings or estrogen. So you become detached, you pump yourself up by work out in the gym. That's a really good one. It's just go, but not to the extent that you're hurting your body. What a lot of guys are doing now is that cold bath thing. You can't have a negative emotion. You get an ice cold water. There's easier things you can do. For me, I could just meditate. I suggest everybody learn how to meditate. It's just, start with a simple technique. Come to one of my courses. I teach advanced techniques, but whatever. They're powerful tools that are out there where you can learn how to meditate, to forget all your problems temporarily, to rebuild your testosterone, as opposed to having to wear your body out. I'm not against jogging and heavy duty workouts, but you are wearing out your body to a certain extent. The whole idea, I have more of the Eastern influence in me because I've studied both Chinese Kung Fu and I've studied the Hinduism. I was a Hindu monk and all celibacy, all that stuff. I see all these other influences coming in. And what I hear again and again is when you're doing all this jogging, what happens is you basically have so much tread on your tires. and so you don't want to run your body to the ground at a young age. So there's other things you can do besides, going to the extreme. You've seen Wim Hof, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he went off the Iceman. He dealt with the stress of losing his wife, which was it definitely pushed him back in his male side by doing something he didn't want to do, something that doesn't feel good. Overcoming resistance is a huge testosterone producer. So he got in that ice water and all his pain about his wife went away. That's a pretty extreme way. And you can look at him. He's almost 10 years younger than me and he looks a lot older. He's the wear and tear on his body, all he's done. And that's his choice. I admire him. He's a wonderful person. Breathing exercises are really great. That's another one you can do is the Wim Hof breathing exercise. Anybody can learn it in a couple of minutes. You know that one, do you?
Oh yeah. I usually do it almost every single morning, Monday through Friday.
There you go.
I love it. I just go to the YouTube thing that he has and
it's one 15-minute YouTube that can change your life. There are other types of more spiritual meditations and everything you can learn, but right there, that's one of the most primal ones is to do it. It's a 15 minutes exercise. Just do that. I can sit breathless for like unlimited time after doing that. I mean, it's
unreal,
not just 5 minutes for me. I can go on forever.
Wow.
It's really quite amazing. I love that state. But right there, a beginner can do that. I'm a 50-year meditator. I'd have to do sophisticated meditations to do that. Anybody can just jump right into holding their breath for 3 to 5 minutes. I mean, that's amazing experience. But you say, I'm going to forget this. I'm just going to do my breathing exercise. I'm going to do my exercise. I've got a book I'm reading. I'm going to do this. But my focus is temporarily going to forget what just happened. Now, if I get in an argument, I can't immediately do that so easy. Every word I say while I'm angry is going to make it harder for me to let go of it. Every word I say. Now, that's a technique. Then once I feel good again, I've forgotten what the problem is. I don't just leave it there. Now is what's called process your emotions. Then I come back to what was bothering me. Now, this is a basic technique. Almost every system of personal growth employs this to some extent. And I can list them and name them, but it's so common. You analyze. See, there's two forms of therapy, basically. The feminine version, which is express what you feel. The other is to analyze what's going on inside of you. When you analyze, self-analysis produces testosterone. Just sharing, exploring what you feel is your feminine side. So just expressing what you feel. Are you following me here?
Totally. Yep.
Okay. So analysis started out with Freud, which is so funny. When I talk about Freud, I say, actually, Freud was the ultimate cave guy. You would go for your analysis session and you'd lie on a couch, the ultimate cave, and he would not be in front of you. He'd be behind you taking notes on what you're saying to help you analyze it. And everything was completely independent. You'd say, well, Freud, what do you think? He says, what do you think I think? He never tells you anything. It's that you have to do everything yourself. It's, again, coming back to complete self-analysis. So now that you've done something to raise your testosterone, you'll be feeling less stressed. You've temporarily forgotten, to whatever degree you can, this thing is bothering you. Then you come back and maybe it's still bothering you a little bit or a whole lot, whatever. Now you're ready because your testosterone up. You're going to analyze, another testosterone producer, what you're feeling on your female side. Okay, so I'm going to analyze it. And there's a system to analyzing it. And objectivity is detachment. That's another aspect of testosterone production. So I'm going to be objective and describe to myself what just happened. Now, so it's looking like, what happened that upset me? What did she say or do? You can't just go, oh, she was overreacting. Well, what did she say or do? What did she not say or do? So you actually have to be very objective, as if you're just observing what happened, as opposed to making generalizations. Oh, she was being a bitch. See, these kind of generalizations do nothing. They just affirm nothing. She said this. She got angry with me. She complained about this. She didn't appreciate me for this. She wasn't trusting me about this. She was blaming me. She was complaining about me. She continues to say this, this, this. You spell it out. The more you can articulate what happened in words, you're getting out of your right brain into your left brain where you're analyzing. Okay, so what happened? It's a simple thing. I sort of flushed it out there, but what happened? Then you look at, now you're going to analyze what didn't happen. So my wife, I washed the dishes, and then she said, why didn't you clean this? And that bothered me. Okay, so that's what happened. What didn't happen is she didn't say, wow, this is amazing. You did such a good job. I feel so relieved that I didn't have to wash dishes tonight. I feel so supported by you. What a great guy you are. And, oh, I'll just wash this other dish myself. And I said nothing about that. That's what didn't happen. In my mind, it should have happened. You see what I did? That's analysis. What happened that didn't work? What didn't happen? And that's enough. Just that simple, that aspect of that. Then what you do is you now look at, what did I do and what did I not do? So it's always easy. Our part of us that gets upset is always victim. See, it's always victim. This happened to me. This happened to me. So you first embrace that. Okay, those are what happened, what didn't happen. Then what did I say or do that made it worse? And what did I not do that could have made it better? And now what you're doing this whole time, you're solving the problem. You're solving the problem from the point of view of this is what she should have done, and this is what I should have done. Now basically, you're going to feel better with that because you're now solving the problem. Your testosterone's up. So now you forgive her for that, and you think a few positive things, and I'll explain a little bit more on that. But you're done. Now you don't go tell her what she did wrong. You don't ever tell her. You just change your behavior. Your job is to change your behavior. You already know what I did wrong, what I could do. That's my business. What she did wrong, what she didn't do, that's her business. I don't have to go tell her. Because if you say I have to go tell her, then you're thinking I can't really feel good until she changes. And whenever we live in the state of I can't feel good until she changes, we're in our victim state. Yep. So you're in a positive state now. And then you also have strategies of how to ask for what you want at another time. Like, let's say something so little as the thing about the glass, you never need to talk about that anyway. Basically, when I look at what I did is I overreacted and I said this and this, and I walked away storming upset about this. And I made a big deal out of nothing. What I could have done is just said, oh yeah, I forgot the glass. Hand me that glass. I'll wash that glass. You're absolutely right. Just imagine what would have made her feel good. So you want to create a positive story because we're always reacting to this victim story that we're telling ourselves. If we're men and we're angry, so you first pump up your testosterone where you can be logical again. You can be cool, calm, and collected. Then you look at what happened, what she did wrong, and then you look at what you did wrong. But you get real clear about that. Now, this is another technique. I'm going to briefly say it's very powerful. After you can do that technique for some guys that works really well. Another thing is they're more on their female side. They're more chronically angry. That's more on your female side. So they need to process their emotions. So now they got enough analysis in male side to look at objectively, what are my emotions? And when you do this, there's a system that is amazing. It's in all of my books. It was in my very first book, What You Feel You Can Heal. I didn't understand gender differences then, but now I understand the whole biology and everything, but the concept is still the same. When you're upset, it's like, we'll call that a stress bubble. Now that bubble is we're looking at the world and we're lying to ourselves. We're saying this is a bigger deal than it is. See, we make believe, we make everything bigger than it is. Like this whole pandemic, I mean, you're 35 years old, you're completely healthy. What are you afraid of this thing for? Nobody dies except people in their 70s and 80s or overweight people. What do you care about? Which is, I admire all the athletes who said, I'm not going to do that. Why do I need to do it? I'm completely fit. I also felt the same way. I didn't get vaccinated. Other people get vaccinated. That's fine. But I wish you all well. I don't need that. I'm completely healthy. I take care of myself. I'm not overweight. So I'm in my male energy. I'm responsible for myself. I'm not needy or dependent on others. At the same time, coming from that place in my marriage, I completely need my wife's love. I need sex. I need intimacy. I need closeness and whatever. But it comes from a place of I can be happy on my own, but I'm much happier with her. And that's a healthy attitude for women. I teach them how to be happy on their own, and their partner makes them happier. And anytime you're blaming him for being unhappy, you're looking in the wrong direction. It's you and it's your life. So coming back to processing the emotions, a simple technique, stress. Whenever you're stressed, there's a bundle of emotions inside, all kinds of emotions inside. But you don't want to have to look at all the emotions that possibly could be there. Make it simple. So simplicity, there are basically 4 negative emotions. And when you feel those 4 negative emotions, your stress will go away. It's simply, when you look at something, here's a glass. I look at it from this point of view. I look at it from this point of view, this point of view, this point of view, those 4 emotions, and look at what's underneath it, what's on top of it. Then the brain goes, okay, now I can understand what's going on. I can let it go. The brain keeps a grip. Like if you're angry, your brain will sort of stay angry until you realize I'm not just angry, I'm also afraid. But how many strong men who are so angry actually realize that they're afraid at that moment? They don't feel that fear.
Right. So anger is a secondary emotion, correct?
It's the underlying emotion. You can't be angry if you're not afraid, and you can't be afraid if you're not also angry. But see, so women walk around with insecurity. Then you get them in therapy, you realize they're pissed off at their husbands for not doing this and not doing this, and not doing this. And then their fear becomes less and they let go of their anger. See, think of it like an iceberg. at the tip of the iceberg. Many people are walking around smiling and my life is great. See my pictures, I can smile. But inside, they're angry. Underneath the anger is their disappointment. I mean, you can't be angry if there isn't a disappointment, right? Something happened, you didn't want it. Well, disappointment, anger, disappointment, underneath disappointment is it going to happen again? There's always the fear. Imagine something bad happens. I just lost some money, but there's no fear. Why could I be angry about it? You see, because I just go, hey, I'll just make more money, no problem. It's the fear that I won't get more, or I'll lose something I can't replace that makes you angry when something happens. So they're always there together, and you have to hunt for them. You have to look inside. But when you look at the full range of what you're feeling in terms of these very simple emotions, and why did I bring it down to anger, sadness, and fear and regret? Those four. Now, think about this is where my model for this is. When we used to have these big screen TVs before they were digital, there were these, they were projection TVs, and they had a yellow light, they had a red light, and they had a blue light on a black screen and white light going through. That. You remember that?
Yeah. Well, are you talking about the big projection screens?
Yeah, the big projection.
Yeah, I totally remember those.
Three colors on a black screen with white light flowing through can make infinite colors. So all of the different emotions that are going on inside of you can be summed up into those three different colors of emotion. The first color is red. We'll look at that, which is, it doesn't always have to be in this order, but they're always there. Anytime you're upset with your partner, for example, and you're angry, well, we talked about anger, so we'll start with that one. If you're angry, you say, what am I angry about?
Real quick, I'm so sorry. I hate to cut you off. I have to end in 7 minutes because I have to get to my son's football game.
We'll do it. I'll be done in 2 minutes.
Okay. I just want to make sure. I didn't want to.
Yeah. Okay. Give me it's good because I have books on all this stuff. But if you just check in, just go, what am I frustrated about? Frustration, anger, and hate. Okay. Those are like the red emotions. I hate this. I'm frustrated about this. I'm angry. And what am I angry about? So you just take a few minutes or even write out is better in the beginning, because then you're more objective. It's out there. You want to get it out of you. I'm looking at it. I'm angry about this. I'm frustrated about this, or I hate this. That's your first emotion. Now the hunt begins. Underneath that, okay, I'm angry she said that. I'm disappointed because she didn't say this. So what am I disappointed about? And you just let yourself go with whatever you're feeling. I'm disappointed I married her. This is terrible. I'll be stuck with this forever. This is sad. I'm not feeling the love and support I deserve. You let yourself go into this vulnerable side because you're on your female side when you're angry. So you want to go down to almost the tearful, vulnerable part of you, or just exploring what happened. What didn't happen is what I'm disappointed about, or I'm sad about, or I feel hurt by, offended by. Then you go, what am I afraid of? So for a lot of men, they don't know what they're afraid of when they're angry. So I'm giving an example because I've done this so many times, go through these feelings. When I'm angry with my wife, she say something, did something, and I get so ticked off about this little thing. Okay, so I have to say to I'm disappointed that she didn't appreciate what I just did. She didn't see this. She doesn't experience the joy and happiness she should be feeling for having such a great husband. Simple as that. Okay, that's disappointment. Then what is my fear? My fear is that I'll never get the appreciation that I deserve. My fear is that I married a woman who can't be happy. My fear, and these are all exaggerations, but you have to realize your stress is I'm making a big deal out of nothing. All your stress, I'm making a big deal out of nothing. I can handle this. Why am I getting so upset? So you have to go to irrational expressions. The fear is because deep down inside, we all want to be loved. And love comes in different flavors. So what would be, I'm afraid my wife's not going to trust me again. Like one time I cut into a lane and the guy honked at me and my partner got all freaked out. Well, what am I going to feel in that moment? I'm afraid now she's going to remember that and always hold me to that and always be afraid when she's with me. So we want to look at what are our fears inside that are fueling our anger, and then give ourselves the ability to reflect on ourselves and feel embarrassed or ashamed. I'm ashamed that I forgot to do this thing and I let it go. See, the idea is you feel these things in order to let them go. I feel embarrassed that I cut into that lane, or I feel embarrassed that I forgot to call her, or I feel embarrassed that I got so mad at her. That was a stupid thing to do. So be embarrassed about your anger. Be afraid your partner won't trust you again because of that. Be disappointed that, I didn't want her to do this and she did this. I wanted this and she didn't do this. And I could be frustrated that she said this. You see, I went through a whole pyramid of going in. That's called self-reflection. It's like know thyself is the whole journey through a history of evolution and growth, is to know the depth of what you're feeling. And then that's the negative. You do that takes 4 minutes to do, writing it out. Just what I'm frustrated about, what I'm disappointed about, what I'm concerned about, what I'm embarrassed about. This is a hunt. And maybe you miss one or two. Sometimes that's okay, but they actually always are there. When I'm in therapy with people, I can always pull them out because it's what you're not feeling is why you're gripped by it. Because a part of you is going, there's still something I'm not looking at. So once you get through those 4, then you get in touch with and write out, like for a minute or two, okay, what I want, what I want, what I like, what I want, what I need, what I like, what I want, what I need, what I wish, what I want. I want my wife to appreciate me. I want her to be happy to see me. I want to have great sex with her. I want to let go of this negativity. I want to be like the man she wants me to be. I want to be happy and fulfilled. I want to make lots of money. I want to think I'm the greatest guy in the world. I wanted to fall in love with me all over again. So basically, beautiful feelings start coming up once you've sort of expressed the negativity in your journal, not to show anybody, not to change anybody, not to say, here, read this, you should feel bad. But then you get in touch with what you want. Then you do what I'm grateful for, what I'm happy about, and what I'm excited about, and what I'm proud of. You have to balance those 4 negatives with the 4 positives, with what I want in between. And just being able to write out what you want after you're mad, because the truth is when you're really mad and shut down, you say, I don't care. You're in a place of, I don't give a damn. I don't care. And that's the opposite of what I want, because what you want is what you care about. And then you kind of, I want to make up. I want to love her. I want to be good. I want to be fine. I don't want to be stuck in this cave anymore. I want to get out of here. See, you just write what you want. And then what I'm grateful for, what I'm happy about, what I'm excited about, and what I'm proud of. That's processing your emotions. Then you go back to your partner after that, and you hang out around her, giving her signals that you're not mad at her anymore, as opposed to, hey, honey, I'm out of the cave. It's a little more graceful just to come in and kind of be nice and be friendly. And so she knows that. And then if she was to say, well, you want to talk about what you're feeling? You say, no, it was no big deal. I was just overreacting. Do you realize how safe somebody would be if you, a woman, I'm making a big deal out of nothing. I was overreacting. I apologize for that. You don't deserve that. Wow. What an amazing safety she will feel.
Yeah.
And that's our main job. If you want a woman to be happy with you and love you, they need to feel safe. Even for their estrogen to go up, they first need to have safety. And that's the hormone oxytocin. That's why non-physical touch can produce oxytocin, which will raise her estrogen. So lots of hugs, not sexual hugs, lots of little compliments, staying grounded. And if you have to get out of a conversation, you say, look, I need to think about this and I'll come back. And they see you do that a few times and then they feel safe. And I still remember the day my wife said to me after a bit of minimal argument, I said, look, I just need to think about this, and walked away. And when I came back, I was all friendly. And she said, thanks so much for walking away and protecting me from the dragon inside of you. And that gave me so much permission to do that, because we as men, we sense that we're doing something bad when we pull away. We need to pull away. And that's an important gift that we give to our partner. And that's why women have to understand men, is that escalation is the death of a relationship. And we can control that escalation of negative emotions. And we can control it in a woman if we just don't react back. They can't continue. If they're expressing negativity and you don't react back, they can't. And a little takeaway for the guys, I know we got to end. When your wife is talking, very basic thing here, say to her, well, you need to not defend. Okay. Don't need to defend, but instead you say, help me understand that better. I'd write that on a little, help me understand that better. Next one is, well, tell me more about that. Another one is, what else? Like you're just there, you have all the time in the world, and it won't take so long. It takes long when you interrupt with arguing back. Then they have to start over and they have to push, and it just doesn't work. So we're the grounded one. They can be emotional, but they'll always flow back to positivity if we can provide that safety for them. And it may not happen the first time, but it'll eventually get there.
John, this has been awesome, man. I really appreciate you coming on. This has been a ton of clarity for our listeners and me as well. I want to make sure as we end here, can you let the men know where the best place to find you, to follow you? It sounds like you have courses, obviously your new book, but the best place to find you.
Okay, well, marsvenus.com. I do a lot of blogs there, which covers a lot of this material. If you have a partner, a woman, have her take my daughter's courses called How to Get Your Me Time. And our most exciting one is called Understanding Men. And these are for women only. Men generally don't take the online courses, so we don't have them for men, but we have one course on sex, which I think it's very funny. It's very entertaining. It's how men and women are different sexually. I think that's always good for men to get refreshed on that information, because we can know some of it, but we tend to forget some of it, like kissing,
right,
and body massage, and clitoral stimulation, vaginal stimulation. These are very important aspects of the whole thing. And we could sometimes just get into our rush, but there's a huge future for men. I just want to have the best sex life in the world. Don't masturbate in between having sex.
Yeah.
That will actually deplete your testosterone. And there's more I have to say about that, but we don't have time today. I'd love to come back and tell men about how sex can increase your marriage, or actually too much sex can kill the sex drive. So that's another one.
Yeah, I would love to have you back. This has been fascinating. Guys, we're going to have all the links in the show notes, not to worry. All you have to do is head on over to thedadedge.com/392 for this show. Again, thedadedge.com/392. John, thank you so much for coming on. This has been awesome. And I've wanted to have you on. I've started this podcast 7 years ago, almost 1,000 episodes to date. I've wanted to have you on since the very beginning. So this has been fantastic.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So awesome. Like I said, gentlemen, thedadedge.com/392. Go out and live legendary. Take care.